Nobody expected this level of detail. Nobody expected this much risk. And absolutely nobody expected Red Bull to pull this off. From the outside, it looked like a simple launch. A shiny livery, a few dramatic lights. But what happened behind the scenes? What Verstappen just stepped into is more than a car. It's Red Bull's most ambitious leap into the unknown since their first race in Formula One. And after what we've just learned, it might also be their most brilliant. Let's take you inside it. Red Bull launched the new car in Detroit, Ford's backyard. That alone said something. But what really stood out wasn't the lighting, or the branding, or even the perfectly staged press run. It was the car itself, and what it didn't try to be. Because while the RB22 doesn't scream for attention, it's loaded with quiet confidence. There's no oversized aero gamble, no desperate design swings, just a cold, precise commitment to what Red Bull believes works, and what Verstappen demands. The floor is tighter, the rear packaging is cleaner, and the entire profile of the car has shifted forward, as if it's leaning into the next regulation cycle, before the others even catch up. And Verstappen? He didn't oversell it. He didn't throw around superlatives or talk about dominance. But the way he looked at the car, the way he talked about its behavior in early sim sessions, it didn't sound like a man hoping for answers. It sounded like someone who's already seen what this thing can do. The most impressive part, though, wasn't the surface. It was the integration. Because for the first time, Red Bull isn't just showing off a car with a Red Bull logo. They're showing off a power unit built entirely on their terms. No external supplier. No waiting on updates from Japan. No compromises. And in a field where most teams are still navigating 2020 SIXS complexity, Red Bull is walking in with a complete concept. Chassis, engine, energy system, all tuned to one purpose. And that is what changes everything. At first, you could mistake the RB22 for a clean evolution. But the moment you look inside, that illusion disappears. Because this isn't just a car with new bodywork. It's a fully re-engineered system. Starting with the way energy is generated, stored, and deployed. According to internal sources, Red Bull has developed a completely new hybrid control layer. It's not just about battery size or recovery rate. It's about how and when that energy is released. Most teams, even Ferrari and Mercedes, are still trying to find the sweet spot between long-term energy efficiency and short-term performance. Red Bull? They've gone in a different direction. They've shifted the recovery strategy forward, focused it around short bursts of torque. Not maximum top speed, but maximum corner exit acceleration. And that plays directly into Verstappen's strengths. He doesn't need a car that's faster in a straight line. He wants a car that obeys immediately. When he turns, when he brakes late, when he gets back on throttle. He wants the power now. Not half a second later. Not smoothed out over the straight. Now. And that's what this new mapping system is designed to do. Give him control, in real time, with no delay. But there's more. This energy strategy only works if the engine can tolerate heat spikes without losing stability. And that's where the biggest risk lies. Because the system they've built doesn't play it safe. It flirts with the thermal edge, constantly. Running hot. Running lean. Running right up against the limits. So if it works, it changes the way power units are used in this era. But if it doesn't, it could be Red Bull's most brilliant failure. The real twist in this story isn't the hybrid mapping. It's not even the power unit. It's what Red Bull has quietly done to its own identity. Because the RB22 isn't just a fast car. It's the product of a completely restructured team. A team that no longer answers to anyone but itself. No Honda. No supplier delays. No external calibration teams running simulations overseas. Everything now, from combustion philosophy to electrical recovery logic, happens inside Milton Keynes. That sounds like an advantage. And it is. But it's also something Red Bull has never truly experienced before. Total accountability. Because when the car fails now, there's nowhere to point. There's no partner to blame for delivery delays. No engine division outside the building to hide behind. If Verstappen gets a deployment drop in Sector 3, that's on them. If the energy system overheats during a long-run sim, it doesn't get escalated. It gets fixed by the same engineers who built it. And that kind of internal loop? It works brilliantly until it doesn't. Already, there are signs that the pressure is shifting the dynamic. Several sources suggest that technical meetings have gotten sharper, less political, less filtered, more direct. That sounds productive, but it also increases the stakes. Because now, one mistake doesn't just hurt performance. It rattles the system. And when a structure this integrated gets rattled, things don't crack slowly. They break suddenly. That's the cost of total control. It's efficient. It's powerful. But it's unforgiving. And right now, Red Bull is walking that edge. Here's what no one's talking about. Not the drivers. Not the engineers. Not even Christian Horner. For all the excitement around Red Bull's new integration, for all the praise around the early performance maps, there's a silence just beneath the surface. And it has nothing to do with speed. It has to do with margin. Because what Red Bull has built this year isn't just aggressive. It's optimized to such a degree. There's almost no room left to adjust if something goes wrong. Think about it. The hybrid deployment is designed to spike power in extremely narrow windows. The cooling system is calibrated to run hot, just below the critical threshold. The battery strategy is tuned for bursts, not longevity. Even the aero design sacrifices fallback stability. For peak efficiency under ideal conditions. That's the key phrase here, ideal conditions. But Formula One doesn't run in ideal conditions. It runs in wind, in rain, in 56-degree asphalt. It runs in chaos. And if Red Bull's entire concept relies on systems operating within a few degrees, a few microseconds, a few percentage points of precision, then what happens when things fall even slightly outside that? This is what insiders are starting to whisper. Not about power, not about innovation, but about tolerance. Because a car this sharp cuts both ways. Yes, it gives Verstappen unmatched control when it works. But when it doesn't just lose performance. It collapses. And what's most fascinating, and maybe a little unsettling, is that Red Bull knows this. They're not hiding from it. They've chosen it. Because this year, they've decided that margin isn't a safety feature. It's a luxury they no longer need. Let's start with Verstappen. He's already praised the car. But not in the way most drivers do after a launch. He didn't say it feels fast. He said it feels precise. That word matters. Because for Max, precision isn't about comfort, it's about control. It means the car reacts the way he wants. At the moment he wants, with no delay, no drift, no negotiation. And when a car gives him that feeling early in a development cycle, he doesn't just drive fast. He starts building a rhythm that the rest of the grid can't touch. But here's the catch. That rhythm depends entirely on whether the car stays precise when things get unpredictable. Red Bull knows this, which is why they've gone all in on the current concept. They're not planning to evolve slowly through the season. They're planning to hit peak performance early and force everyone else to play catch-up with a car that's already been optimized around Verstappen's strengths. If it works, we're looking at the start of another dominant phase. Not just by results, but by concept. A car designed so aggressively, with such complete internal control, that it forces every other team to question their own philosophy. And if it fails, that's when the questions come back to Red Bull, to the structure, to the risks, to the idea that you can eliminate margin and survive a full season. Because if Verstappen starts to feel hesitation, if he loses trust in energy delivery mid-corner, if the balance starts drifting under real tire degradation, if thermal protection cuts power in key laps, he won't hesitate to speak. Not to the media, to the team. And when Max speaks, loudly and publicly, it shakes the whole structure. Because this year, there's no one else to carry the weight. Red Bull has built a car that only Verstappen can fully extract. It fits him. It reflects him. It depends on him. But that's also the risk. If something breaks, confidence, traction, trust, even for just one weekend, there's no fallback. There's just a car that's either working or unraveling. So now, the grid waits. The numbers are promising. The driver is confident. And the car, on paper, is ahead. But Formula One doesn't race on paper. It races through chaos. Through wind, temperature swings, software glitches, tire wear, human error. Through 23 weekends where one tiny misalignment can split dominance from disaster. And that's what makes the RB22 so fascinating. Not because it's safe, but because it isn't. This car doesn't leave room for corrections. It doesn't give second chances. It's fast because it has to be. And that's where the risk lives. Because while other teams are still managing their season through evolution, Red Bull is committing everything, right now. To the engine. To the concept. To the structure they've created around Verstappen. And to the belief that when you're this far ahead, you don't need to hedge. But what happens when the temperature rises in Singapore? When the ERS deployment misfires in Suzuka? When Ferrari, Mercedes, maybe even Audi, find rhythm late in the year? What happens if Verstappen hits a wall of unreliability? With no plan B? This car has impressed everyone. But it's done so by walking the thinnest line in the paddock. And if that line holds, This could become the most dominant concept since the V6 era began. But if it doesn't, this car won't just break. It'll take Red Bull's philosophy with it. Because this season isn't just about performance. It's about pressure. And the moment something gives, we'll find out what Red Bull has really built.